Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are breaking down the Jacksonville Jaguars 2024 NFL Draft. It was a fun weekend. It was great watching all the picks. How the Jags had a fun draft, and we're going to break that down here for you. But before we do that, if you haven't already, go ahead and like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified when we create new Jaguars content. Trying to get to 4,000 new subscribers, or 4,000 total subscribers by the start of the 2024 NFL season. So any help between now and September would be greatly appreciated. Ryan, let's pull up the slides here. Jags ended up trading back here, and honestly, the guy I thought that they were going to get at 17, they still ended up getting at 23. Brian Thomas Jr., I think he's going to be a great addition to this team. They did get Gabe Davis, yes, in the offseason. But I think when this team is super successful is when they have a deep threat guy like Brian Thomas Jr. Across from a guy like Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk's their best receiver. He's their most versatile guy. I think Trevor Lawrence can really lean on. And you go to a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., as we saw plenty of times at LSU and then also too during this entire offseason, his tape of going deep, and I think is really going to open everything up underneath for Travis Etienne, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, as I've already mentioned, and then Gabe Davis as well. I think he's going to be a great addition to this overall team. I really like this selection, and the fact that they traded back and still got him, I think is a big bonus.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of wide receivers in this class, I think he was kind of in a tier of his own. I think him and A.D. Mitchell were there. But even then, I think he's bigger, just as fast, and it may be a little different skill set, but he is just a phenomenal prospect. And I think you look at Christian Kirk, kind of profiles out maybe a little similar to Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr. just had a great season with a guy like that, like you said. So I really like this fit. A little redundant with Gabe Davis, but I think now you have like two giant rebounding receivers.
Well, and
out
you
there,
also have
worst case scenario,
and you have the ability to, because Gabe Davis, I mean, we see guys, they sign these 3-year contracts and they're cut after 1 or 2 years, so it's like, I think you have the safety net of Gabe Davis for allow Brian Thomas Jr. to develop, see what you got in him, and then you can always move on from Gabe Davis. I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. is that good. Gabe Davis just taking up a roster spot. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. Let's move on, though, now to their next pick. Ended up going with Mason Smith here out of LSU. Dressed on defensive interior. Mason Smith is just a super athletic defensive tackle. A lot of defensive tackles came off here in the second round, and he was one of them. Ryan, what do you like about this pick and also this fit for Jacksonville?
Yeah, super long guy, going to be disruptive in both the run and pass game. But this was maybe a little higher than I had him going, but getting some help in the defensive interior is going to be good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But he's 6'5", a little over 300 pounds, right? Has super long arms. Just not going to be a superstar, but I think just going to be a disruptive player for them for at least 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree with that. He had a great career at LSU, going back to back LSU players here. So mixing up sticking in state here with their next pick on Jarrian Jones, cornerback from Florida State. I think this is good value for the compensatory pick that they got here. And so they needed to address the secondary. We felt at some point, glad that they did it here with Jarrian Jones, keep him in the state. I think just a good versatile corner and just help provide some more depth to a secondary that I think is good. I think they've struggled with the defensive line just not being able to just get after guys. And so I think hopefully with a selection like Mason Smith and then extending Josh Allen, and you still got the first round pick, Trayvon Walker from last year, they could just slowly keep developing, and that can help out overall when it comes to this defensive this performance.
Yeah, Jarrian Jones, good corner. Not you and I think had kind of pegged them as in that quarterback or cornerback group there at 17, and they didn't end up going that route. I still think they get a corner that can come in and provide some help, but not going to be the fix on the outside that I think that we were really looking for there. So after that, let's go to their day 3 picks. So I really like actually this Javon Foster pick. He's the tackle from Missouri. He was the SEC Player of the Year there at Missouri, and so I just think that's a really good value. Not that they need tackles because they've taken a lot lately, but I just think he's going to be really good depth, especially on that left side. Jordan Jefferson, DeAndre Prince as well, two guys that can come in and potentially play a role for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then wrap it up with Keelan Robinson, get some more running back depth there. Cam Little and then Miles Cole, edge rusher as well, out of Texas Tech. I think then too, especially with Keelan Robinson and then Miles Cole selection as well. I think this special team. I actually last 3 picks I think were like special teams focused, especially with Keelan Robinson here. You go look at the running backs he's backed up at Texas. With Bijan, Roshan Johnson, Jonathan Brooks as well over these past couple of years. But he was more of that special teams guy for them, so I think it's going to be a good selection here. We kind of see how this new special teams rules pan out. But in general, though, I would say Ryan and I, we both graded this draft, and we both tried to grade them against the other teams here. And I thought the Jags did a good overall job. I would say, like for me, average compared to some of the other teams. Some teams really knocked it out of the park, but I thought they got a lot of good players. I think you said this though, and I think one of the reasons why maybe I'm a little bit lower than you on the overall grades is I felt like some of those players maybe were just a little bit higher than the initial value. The value of Brian Thomas Jr. traded back and still getting him, I think was great. But to your point, like Mason Smith was maybe a little bit high. Maybe I actually think they probably could have gone offensive tackle at some point as well, just to get a little bit more depth.
Well, they did. Javon Foster was
no, I know, but earlier on, out behind Anton Harrison, and then you had Cam Robinson and Walker Little as well. But in general, though, I thought I thought they had a good draft. They got a lot of great players as well. So very curious to kind of see this Jags team, because the Jags, I think, are kind of like the other one of the other Florida teams, Tampa Bay. It's a lot of really good players. Not too many studs. But just a good players. And I think they're just finding good depth overall to just keep improving going into the 2024 season.
Yeah, and that's for me. I like the Brian Thomas Jr. move back, acquire more picks. I think that was a good move there, and I was a big fan of Brian Thomas Jr. Don't love the Mason Smith pick, but I don't hate it. And then I think Jerry and Jones and Javon Foster are 2 really solid picks. So that's why I gave it a slightly above average grade here with a B+. But all in all, Jags did a good job in this draft. So let's go ahead and wrap it up here. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Jacksonville Jaguars 2024 draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? And that we'll see you guys next time.